All right, what is up, everybody? We have some sweet top 8 gameplay footage. This one's going to actually be Please Don't Hack Me and Cephalapod, both of which have done extremely well in a lot of these tournaments. This one is JamFest number 6. I'm actually also here with my co-caster, Boulevard, and God, this was a super fun time casting with you, my man.
Yeah, you as well, man. If you guys want to check out the top 16 and round 8 action, as well as a lot more tournament content that I do, you can head over to my channel at TCG Boulevard. Don't forget to subscribe once you're there. And I've got weekly tournament prep and analytical videos, all that kind of good stuff that you'll like to see out of your casters.
And obviously, if you are new to this channel and you're seeing this video for the first time and my videos for the first time, do not forget to subscribe to my channel as well. But without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. We have Sudrakon making it into the semifinals versus the winner of this game. And then Bruised by God and Christmas Time are playing. Christmas Time is currently up 1-0. And then Pascal and Arax are playing. They currently say 0-0, but they might just not have reported yet. So
yeah.
So we'll see if BBG can make it all the way and get another win under his belt. I'm actually I just popped into. Oh, it looks like Christmas Time is streaming as well. Is that right?
I couldn't find him.
Yeah, it looks like because they have his hand up as well. So
I've got my Smash GG in the middle of all the deck lists. Wasn't able to find it. Looks like Sudrakon has moved on to the top 4 already.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we knew that one.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny. I'm looking at BBG's game real quick, and I'm gonna pull this up really quick because it's funny. We have he has 3 unyielding spirits. Literally
oh my god,
3 unyielding spirits. We have 3.
Oh my gosh.
That's.
It looks like the players are getting in the game.
Okay, cool. That's so ridiculous. Like, how do you even? How many turns does a game actually have to go to get 3 unyielding spirits off as well? That's insane. So we're gonna go.
I think the 3 unyielding spirit might even be like an adaptation to Ionia decks because you figure, you will of Ionia the unit, but if they just replay it and throw another unyielding spirit onto it.
Yep. All right, we are getting going here. So we have Noxus Freljord, which is Sejuani Ash versus Cephalopods. This is Vi Ezreal, right?
Yep.
Good.
I actually really like Vi instead of Karma in this deck. I know that for the longest time when you saw Ionia PZ together, it was either Vi Heimerdinger or Karma Ezreal. And I think Vi makes a lot of sense in the Ezreal deck. You are constantly playing early spells more than you are in the Heimer deck because you can play them before your champion comes out. And then just Vi controls the board so well. And I think it really shores up the Bannerman matchup that we saw swing into Bannerman's favor with the release of Loyal Badger Bear.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's one of the reasons why I think Vi needs a change, because she really just, in every deck that she's used in, she really just sits there to clog up the board for as long as possible.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what I want to see changed about her. I think they just have to reduce her health. I think if you take away Tough, then she becomes very, very bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. Taking away Tough, or even reducing it to 4 health, maybe.
Yeah, I think 4 health is the change that I like the most.
Yeah. We get the early Omen Hawk here. And, I have the Dragon from Cephalopod's side. Is another card that I really liked when it first came out. I actually thought that was kind of busted. But turns out it's incredibly good, but very balanced in my eyes. I think it's a perfectly balanced control tool.
Yeah, it's a card that I was also blown away by it initially, and then the more I played with it, I was like, okay, this is okay.
Yeah, it's good, but it's by no means, doesn't need a nerf.
Yeah, nothing like that. Now, for this actual matchup, I generally feel like the Noxus control, or the Frostbite control deck, as I like to call it, is going to be a little bit too slow. And like we see things like Icevale Archer and Trifarian Glory Seeker is just 1 health units getting cleaned up beautifully by Static Shock. So I want to say the Ezreal deck is favored, but Elixir of Iron, a well-timed Elixir of Iron, can just blow out the matchup.
Yeah, I do agree. I'd have to say the Ezreal deck is favored here. I just don't think, and like, yeah, sure, he could time a good Elixir of Iron to prevent something like a Static Shock or any sort of removal that might come out. But there's still going to be too much control tools on the side of Cephalapod for Please Don't Hack Me to really build up any sort of substantial aggression that's going to allow him to put pressure. And that's going to be the problem here. Like, the Avarosian Hearthguard almost has to come down because on next turn, because it's got 5 health and it will stick for more than one turn.
Yeah, and Please Don't Hack Me's been playing this, slow rolling this one a little bit, not wanting to throw down his 1 health units willy-nilly, which I kind of like, but it does make it a little bit harder to win this matchup, and he doesn't have great tools to actually get through these Eye of the Dragons.
No, I mean, he does have the Sejuani for his next attack turn, maybe to, hook one of them. But, again, and even the Trifarian, God, what is her name? Trifarian Glory Seeker. There we go.
Yeah.
Trifarian, it's like he hears me, man, when I'm talking. It's great. It's like, dude, we need to see how many cards left in your deck. Just hover over your deck. So, I was waiting for him to do it again. That would have been great. So we have the Sejuani could try to pull one of them, but yeah, he doesn't have enough tools to really do anything substantial because like they just stunned Cephalapod just stunned the 5/5. So it's like Hearthguard. Got it.
Yeah. But we also see Will of Ionia and Retreat out of Cephalopod. I think that these Eye of the Dragons are going to stick around. Probably, they might just stay here for the entirety of this game.
Honestly, you're not wrong. The Glory Seeker, when it comes down, will probably get popped by Static Shock, and he could protect it with Elixir of Iron. So he might be able to get rid of one of them. But it's going to be really hard. And that Sejuani is almost definitely going to be a target for Thermogenic Beam.
Yeah, for sure. And I like Cephalopod not playing the Ezreal here. But, if you got a peek at Please Don't Hack Me's hand, you know that he has absolutely no answer for it. But, of course, there are 3 Culling Strike in the deck.
Yeah, this feels so bad. And now he's, second-guessing blocking with the Hearthguard, right? Because if he blocks with the Hearthguard, now it puts it at 2 health, and now it's just even more vulnerable to getting removed. But now he's sacrificing his 3/3, so it's like, no matter what he does, he's going to be in a position where he's still not going to be able to get any aggression going.
Yeah, and I actually think something like Progress Day Mushroom here to draw 3 cards as well as trigger the 2 spells for the double Eye of the Dragon might be the play.
He does, and what's crazy is he doesn't even need to do that. He doesn't even need to because he's at 20 health.
Yeah,
it's just extra blockers to just, okay, you don't get to attack again for another turn.
Counting it up, has 9 in hand. Yeah, it looks like he doesn't care about the 2 ones, at least not yet. Ooh,
there we go.
Drawing 3.
So,
Cephalopods reduce the cost, but Please Don't Hack Me's developed a 5/4.
And I really don't think it's just not going to be enough.
Yeah, the problem is, as good as this Frostbite control deck can be at getting down a lot of big units, they're not the most mana efficient in the world. It's hard to get down multiples in a turn.
Yeah, and Cephalopod's Ezreal deck is good at removing, a unit a turn, right? And just get the Deep Meditation. At some point, he actually still hasn't pulled a Thermo Beam, but at some point he'll pull a Thermo Beam to remove one of them, and he's still got the Static Shock to get rid of the Glory Seeker. So it's not to mention a Will of Ionia. There's so many answers. He has 3 Will of Ionias in his hand. So there's so many answers to anything that Please Don't Hack Me does. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the Frostbite effects that we see in Please Don't Hack Me's hand, like the Brittle Steel and the Harsh Winds, those are more or less non-factors in this matchup. Sure, you can stop an Ezreal attack on you, but you'd much rather have removal for the Ezreal. And we even see that Sejuani sitting at 1 out of 5 on turn 7.
This is so. Are we entering that hallowed area that we were talking about before?
I don't think we're quite in limbo, but we are getting there.
I'm trying to think of what gets him out of this. Now, a Reckoning would be great. I actually think he pretty much needs a Reckoning. The problem with Reckoning is, at what point can you play it without worrying about deny? Is Cephalopod, is he playing 2 or 3 deny? Maybe even 1.
Check. He is playing 1 deny.
Okay, so you have to constantly play around with the deny, so playing that first Reckoning is going to feel super awkward. And I think this is the turn where Please Don't Hack Me is going to try to go in.
Yeah, and it feels so bad with two of these Dragonlings out. You do have the Brittle Steel for one of the Dragonlings, which is about as much value as you could hope to get out of your Brittle Steel at this point.
Well, yeah, and it actually saves the Ash, so that's pretty
Yeah.
big. So he needs to have another similar turn like this to really make a comeback in this game. So like he will have the Sejuani coming down next turn. He also has Harsh Winds, which I think will level the Ash next turn. I don't know how many the Ash is at right now.
Yeah, and that actually could be big since we do see Mystic Shot in Cephalopod's hand, and in his head that lines up nicely onto that Ash.
Yeah, it really does. So like I'm looking here because we're looking at like Please Don't Hack Me's main perspective. He's the main perspective, right? But then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what cards can we play that are gonna win the game? And then the second I go to look at Cephalopod's hand, I'm just like, forget it. I just like there's so many answers in his hand. It's stupid.
Yeah, I think there's the chances of Please Don't Hack Me win aren't 0 because with Ash on board, an enchanted crystal arrow into this board could end the game. And we do know
Yes.
that Cephalopod doesn't have the deny.
Yes, and so Please Don't Hack Me does actually have another Ash. And again, he does have the Harsh Winds, so he can level up the Ash next turn with Harsh Winds, get the Crystal Arrow on top, probably get another good attack in next turn. The question is if he can get another good attack in the following turn.
Yeah. And this is like, we've really seen the Eye of the Dragons take over this game so far, and that's kind of one of the problems with this Ash deck, is we haven't seen, because you're playing into an Ezreal deck and your challengers are typically pretty low health with things like Rhymefang Wolf and Trifarian Glory Seeker, it can be really hard to actually get them to connect onto these things. And Cephalopod has gained, I don't know actually how much life exactly off of these Dragonlings, but I feel like there's a non-zero chance that he would have been dead already if not for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's honestly been pretty routinely almost at 20 health. I'm actually surprised to even see him at 16 right now.
Yeah.
And those Dragonlings are just, they're doing work, man. And I'm trying to think of what the next turn is going to look like for Please Don't Hack Me. I think you kind of have to play the Ash because if you stop being at all like aggressive. All right, so he's going to go with the Babbling Bjerg. I feel like, so what does the Babbling Bjerg draw right now?
So in
Aversion
previous
Hearthguard.
lists of this deck, it would only draw
Ash.
Hearthguard and Ash,
Yeah.
unless you had already fired off a Hearthguard, and it is going to get a Hearthguard here. And I think if Cephalopod isn't winning the game anytime soon, and we actually see him really slow rolling these Vi's and these Ezreals, then there is a non-zero chance that Please Don't Hack Me can get off enough Avaros and Hearthguards that Cephalopod's removal just doesn't line up anymore, or at least the damage-based ones. But since his hand is a full house of Vi's, Ezreals, and Will of Ionias, it's not going to be as impactful for stat checking the removal spells.
Yeah, now I'm trying to figure too, the issue with Cephalopod's hand right now is that like he has no problem leveling the Ezreal. The problem is he doesn't really have enough cards to go off in one turn for an OTK.
Yeah.
I will say, Please Don't Hack Me's at 10 health. So it's much easier to go 10-0 than 20-0. So he only needs, let's see, if he draw 3, 6, 9, he just needs like really like one Chump Wump or one Deep Meditation, and he basically has game after he levels the Ezreal.
Yeah, and I think even though he's got 2 Ezreals, the reason that we haven't seen him throw it down yet is he does have the Retreat for the Culling Strike, but because Retreat currently represents 2 spells, I think you really want to wait until your Ezreal is evolved before you start firing that off. And here's something I actually don't know. So if I have out an Ezreal, can I use the second half of Retreat to put in a second Ezreal?
If I have, so you're saying if you have one on the board?
Yeah. Oh no, because it'll be a Mystic Shot in my hand. I can't even target it.
Yeah. You can't target it anyways. Close. I know what you're going for there. I know. I really wanted that to be a thing too. I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, can he double Ezreal? You don't need 2 Karmas when you have 2 Ezreals out, but I don't know why I blanked on the fact that it would just look like a Mystic Shot.
All right. So again, man, these Dragonlings, like I think Please Don't Hack Me's probably done like 40 damage at this point.
Yeah.
And these Dragonlings are just like, nah, we're gonna keep showing up every turn. It's cool. And
Cephalopod can play loose with the light total here, but he actually does need to upgrade these Ezreals, and that's gonna get it done at least.
Yeah. Wait, actually, no. Does that put him at 7? Oh no. Yep, they're upgraded. So I think he can safely play one now with the retreat in hand. Problem is he can't replay it because he doesn't have 6 mana. He only has 5.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a question of whether or not he wants to replay it on the same turn. I mean, you'll almost definitely get the culling strike out if you play it now.
Yeah, unless your opponent, even if your opponent has 3 Culling Strike, because you have the Will of Ionias in your hand, I think you're fine no matter what. But as you said earlier, the problem is he doesn't have enough spells to actually win the game with this.
So he is actually going with the Ezreal, and I don't know. I do tend to agree that maybe that the retreat should have been saved instead of forcing himself to use it right now. He also has the other Ezreal, so he might be playing this to get the Culling Strike out and knowing that he has another Ezreal that he can play.
Yeah, so I like developing the Vi first because I think Vi's Vault Breaker is your best chance at winning the game with the Ezreal because it does represent potentially 4 spells.
Yeah, I will say I agree with you. I think with that 5 mana break point from last turn, he should have played the Vi then because he's only going to end up playing it now, right? So essentially, he just traded his Ezreal for a Culling Strike, which I feel like he could have traded something else for that. But
yeah, and I don't like playing the Ezreal before we have the Vi down because I do think you need the Vault Breaker in order to actually pull this one out. Yeah, we're going to see continuous Frostbite effects onto the Ezreal to deny the Mystic Shot. Like, I get what he's going for. I just don't think it works out as often as playing the Vi into the Ezreal.
Yeah, I don't agree with this right now anyways. I mean, maybe he's seeing something that we're not, but he does not have like damage for game in his hand right now. He only has 8.
Yeah. So I've seen Cephalapod play Ezreal decks in previous tournaments, and I feel like I consistently take issue with the way that he plays it, which sounds a little more aggressive than I mean it to. He plays it very differently than I would.
Yes, yeah.
I'm like consistently
like what?
Not on the same page as him.
Yeah, like what are you doing? Yeah. I mean, yeah, to me, like I usually am only going to want to play Ezreal when I know I have an out for victory, and he does not right now. Now he does have a decent thermogenic beam if he decides to go that route.
I think lethal.
No, never mind. He is okay. Yeah, he's going with the Vi's Vault Breaker. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so if he just passes here, then I think 3 Vault Breakers and then retreat. Oh no, he actually doesn't have. Oh yeah, okay. So if you play 3 Vi's Vault Breakers and then retreat one of the Dragonlings and then put it back in, that's 5 spells.
Yeah, yep, no, he's got it. I totally forgot about the Vault Breaker, playing the Vi, turning it into the champion spell. Yeah, and I think, that right there is a perfect example as to why Vi's Vault Breaker and why Vi is such a good addition to the Ezreal deck itself.
Yeah, I've seen it in the Heimerdinger deck as well. Like when you just have a 3 mana fleeting, spell that makes infinite copies of itself, it just feels so good for every other PNZ champion.
Now, he does get the Crystal Arrow, but it might be a little too late.
Yeah, I think as long as you throw out the retreat here onto a Dragonling, then every other spell you're playing is burst speed.
Yeah, there's no, and honestly, Please Don't Hack Me doesn't have any removal in his hand, so I think this is just game.
Yeah, even if there was removal, if you throw out the retreat first, then you can defensively Will of Ionia in combat if you need to, and then go for the win next turn. But I don't think Cephalapod can. I think we're in limbo now.
we have now entered limbo. It has begun. Yeah, so this is. I think this is. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it. It's like, no, you will not have your Ashe on the field.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about, where this is just like a little mana inefficient. Like if you just fired off the retreat first with the Ashe, then you have the burst speed spells. I feel like Cephalapod's consistently winning the game slower than I would like him to when he plays these decks.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because what you were saying with the retreat and the Vault Breaker, like that just wins the game there, like right then. Like now I feel like if he goes for Thermo Beam, I agree 100% with you. Like if he Thermo Beams the Sejuani right now, that's like the ultimate troll. Or never mind. Just passing is.
Yeah, he's not even, because the problem is that the other spell isn't, or the retreat itself isn't burst speed, and so you're not going to get the spell immediately.
Man, I'll tell you. Listen, he's winning the game, so like, who are we to argue?
I know,
because he's winning the game, but like. I do not understand the route that he's taking to actually get this Ezreal kill off. Like, dude, you have infinite. You had at the beginning of your turn with full mana, infinite burst spells in your hand. Like, not to mention the 2 spells he gets off Deep Meditation.
Yeah, if he fires off a Deep Meditation here and finds a Mystic Shot, I'm leaving.
Oh my god! And he's even like letting this attack of like I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe he wants to troll and win with the Vi.
Maybe.
Like, what is? So I guess like in competitive play, you want to play really safely, right? But like,
Yeah, that's why I like the retreat at the start of the turn in response to the Ashe. I feel like that was the safest play that you could have made.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, now he has it anyways, but I don't know, man. Maybe maybe he wants to attack with the Vi. No, never mind. I was gonna say maybe okay, now that Vi's leveled, he actually wants to get the kill in with the Vi Challenger. So Cephalapod goes up 1-0 versus Please Don't Hack Me, and I want to see because I did not catch the bans. I'm curious to see what decks we're gonna have up next here.
Yeah, this is the first time that we've seen, I believe, a Ezreal deck out of any player so far. Those have been pretty consistently getting banned throughout the day.
Yeah, and it's funny. I had this discussion with somebody else too. Like, Ezreal was so prominent before Rising Tides. And I know Riot released a statement when they did one of their patch updates of, we're keeping an eye on Ezreal and Karma, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty safe to say that Ezreal is no longer on the watch list. He himself is a win condition, sure, but like that's how he's supposed to be played.
Yeah, so my concern with Ezreal at the moment is just that I think that if you nerf a lot of the things that are a problem right now, then it does give Ezreal a spot to take over the meta again.
Okay. So what, you're saying like Badger Bear and stuff like that?
Yeah, because I think Badger Bear is really what like knocked Ezreal's playability down a lot because it is so difficult for an Ezreal deck to deal with a 4/4. As well as Burn coming out in a big way as well. But I think like Burn and Badger Bear are the two things that really pushed Ezreal down, and it's the two things that everybody's got their eye on to get hit.
You might not be wrong, and I'd be curious, honestly, to see if that's the case. I mean, I do think that if Badger Bear and Ranger get nerfed a little bit, I still think they're playable if they get nerfed in the ways that I think they're going to get nerfed.
Same.
So I don't, and I still think they're going to see the same play rate in Demacia, right? They're still going to be integral parts of the deck. So I don't know if like I'm very curious to see if you're right. If having the new type of card with the way that they're nerfed actually affects whether or not Ezreal is able to be played.
Yeah, I'm also just really curious like how married Riot is to the identity of Ezreal as his own win condition. Because when the Ezreal deck started to come out, it seemed like the response from Riot was a little surprised that that was the way that it was being played.
Yep. Yeah, and that kind of struck me as odd because the second I saw that card, that's literally the first thing I thought was, okay, how do I win in one turn with this card?
Yeah. And I remember the Frostbite Ezreal decks that were played, way back in the day that sort of put Ezreal on the map that are now making a resurgence for a couple of reasons. Those had a really hard time one-shotting you from 20. And then when Troop of Elnix kind of came into the mix, it was like, okay, this is how you get your opponent down to 10, so you can one-shot them from 10. But then once we saw that nerfed and then Karma Ezreal started to come up, it became very easy to just one-shot your opponent from 20, and there was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah, especially, like, Deep Meditation blew that wide open. Like, that just makes it so consistent that it's going to happen. It's insane. So this is a very, that's a great trade for Please Don't Hack Me early on here, getting the Avarosian Sentry out to kill that keg.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the TF Swain actually plays into the Frostbite control deck, just because your removal is damage-based, and that's generally what the Frostbite deck has an advantage against, because they have Elixir of Irons and Omen Hawks and Hearthguards and things of that nature.
Yeah, I'm going to say that the Noxus Feralior deck in this situation has the advantage in this matchup. Especially, I mean, he's going to get he's going to get a turn 5 Hearthguard down, which is just going to make the rest of the game so much more difficult for Cephalapod. Like you said, most of their damage is removal based, and he's already got a 3 health and a 5 health unit on the board. And that's rough. Like, I don't really see an easy way especially early on in the game for cephalapod to remove those.
Okay, so I just kind of noticed. I don't know why I didn't think about this previously, but Please Don't Hack Me isn't playing Rhymefang Wolf.
Oh yeah, I wondered why you mentioned Rhymefang earlier. So you thought he was playing it?
Yeah, that's like one of the key cards from the deck, at least before Rising Tides came out, and I'm pretty sure Winding God was still playing it. I could be wrong on that one.
Okay.
But I was trying to think, how does Please Don't Hack Me actually kill a Leviathan?
Huh. So that is a good point. He could frostbite it and then reckoning, frostbite it and then culling strike.
Yeah, I guess Reckoning has sort of taken the place of the Rhymefang Wolf,
Yeah.
which kind of makes sense that Sejuani can just frostbite the whole board on her own. Although I don't think we've seen a Sejuani upgrade today, and this is, I want to say, the 4th or 5th time we've seen Sejuani played.
Yeah, I don't really think, honestly, that's the goal of this deck is to really ever level Sejuani. It's more frostbite heavy. I think it's more geared towards leveling the Ash and getting, a Crystal Arrow with that one big swing turn.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, honestly, like that, the frostbite, and I think the reason for that too is kind of like what you're saying with Leviathan, right? Like there's a lot of frostbite in there so that you can really use cards like Culling Strike and Reckoning to their full advantage. And even an Ice Veil Archer. Like, God, that is such a sick 5-mana combo. Like, Ice Veil into Culling Strike on a Leviathan. Holy crap, that feels really bad for your opponent.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I really think that Frostbite was kind of, I don't know, just overlooked for, right? Like, Frostbite doesn't, on the surface, seem like that great of a mechanic for what it's costed at. But when you start taking into consideration that it's burst speed and stuff like that, where, putting stuff at 0 now puts them in range of certain specific card effects, the value that they can really get out of Frostbite is just astronomical.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big reasons that we even though there's not a lot of Noxus cards in this deck, the Noxus cards that are in here are absolutely pivotal to the strategy.
Yep.
Trifarian Assessor, just absolutely phenomenal for taking out the frostbited units. Glory Seeker. Assessor is your main draw engine. These decks used to live and die by how many cards you could draw off the Assessor, and if you ever drew it, it was really easy to draw at least 3 cards.
Oh yeah, very easy. Sorry, I made a Yeti deck one time. You consistently draw 5 cards off it. gotta shuffle all the Yetis into your deck and have all 5 5s on the field. That's the way to play Freljord Noxus, okay?
Yeah, and now we see Cephalapod pick up the Leviathan going into turn 8, and as previously mentioned, there is Ice Veil Archer and... Okay, never mind. There's 2 Ice Veil Archers and 3 Calling Strike, and Please Don't Hack Me's hand. That's how he kills Leviathan.
Yeah, and I'm pretty positive that's literally what he's saving these for, because that's all he's worried about, right? Like, you don't Culling Strike a Zap Sprayfin. You don't Culling Strike the deckhand. I mean, maybe the Zap Sprayfin, just because... Actually, no, because you can Reckoning the entire field if he just keeps the Zap Sprayfin on there. I'm trying to think of anything else. So he doesn't actually have removal for the Zap Sprayfins, right? Like,
yeah.
Besides Culling Strike. So he might have to use a Culling Strike to make sure that he doesn't take too much damage.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of worried for what happens to Please Don't Hack Me if he loses this Ash. And looking at Cephalapod's hand, it's pretty possible to kill it.
Oh yeah, it's very possible. And it's possible for him to get a lot of value out of this Noxian Guillotine too.
Yeah, Please Don't Hack Me needs to find an Assessor soon. This is the problem I was talking about, where like an Assessor into this board is going to draw 4 cards because the Assessor will be buffed up by the Hearth cards at this point.
Yep.
You could even get down the 6/4 Ice Veil Archer that you have if you want to draw even more. But until that happens, if Cephalapod can pick off the board before the Assessor comes out, Please Don't Hack Me could be in a lot of trouble.
So I will say, he is deciding to challenge one of the Zaps. And that's what I was talking about earlier, where he does have to kind of prioritize removing them. So this is one of his ways of being able to directly remove the Zap. I think that's pretty pivotal. So I'm curious to see if Cephalapod decides to save it or not, or if he thinks keeping the 1 Zap Sprayfin is enough. Because if he plays the Zap Sprayfin, right? Or sorry, if he keeps it, he forces Please Don't Hack Me to use Culling Strike. Now he doesn't know there's 3 in his hand.
Yeah.
But I imagine he knows that his Leviathan can get wrecked by basically anything that freezes plus a Culling Strike.
Yeah, and he goes for Leviathan over the triple Noxian Guillotine, which I think is fine. I don't think there's any reason to go for this now over the... Because you can just go for the Guillotine next turn if you want to, and you do
Yeah,
want to push that 3 damage while the Leviathan's just sitting there doing nothing.
exactly.
But as we do know, Please Don't Hack Me does have the answer.
Yeah, I really think he should have... I know this seems like a really odd, play, but I really think he should have saved that Zap Spray Fin because it would have put a lot more pressure on Please Don't Hack Me. He's just going to sit on those Culling Strikes for all 3 Leviathans. Like, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what his turn would have looked like if he did use the Death's Hand to save it. You don't get as good of a Guillotine turn because you can only get down 2 guillotines. You could have developed Swain, though, and gone for the Leviathan on the following turn. But if you are worried about it getting removal, then it does just kind of set you up for an awkward next 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why he didn't go for it.
So he could, maybe he's thinking, okay, now I want to save the Zap Spray Fin, so maybe he's going to be prioritizing saving it at this point. Now it's not going to get... Did he remove the Ash? Okay, never mind. I was going to say it's not going to get Frostbitten, but Ash is off the field, so...
Oh, and we see the aggressive Iceveil Archer out of Please Don't Hack Me. This does mean he's not going to have any removal for these Swains. Well, he does still have a Sejuani and a Culling Strike. Unless you put... Okay, never mind.
So what? All right, so he's trying to save. Yeah, he's just going to go all in. And
yeah, he's going for broke.
This might be... Oh, wow. Yeah, this might be game. He might have just got rewarded big time with that because of the Fury of the North. You can't...
Yeah, I was...
Thanks, game. Thanks, game. It just reminded us we can't play our opponent's cards.
I was a little curious if he was going to go for double Culling Strike onto both the Cephalopod's units, since it would theoretically take away 1 blocker since Cephalopod can only play 1 unit after the fact, but he would have gotten hard punished by the Arachnoid Sentry. So I do like that the Fury of the North incentivized him to not go for that play.
Yeah, so that doubly helped him out. And now he pretty much has guaranteed game no matter what Cephalopod does. So, I imagine he can Death's Hand, and he can actually he can Noxian Fervor twice.
Yeah, but the Fury of the North is actually going to be lethal.
Yeah, so no, it doesn't matter what he does after the...
Oh, no, it's not actually. So Sejuani, yeah, if he goes to save this, then it's not going to work.
Oh, wow. So now he does 2 Noxian Fervors
onto the Iceveil Archer. If he had thrown it onto the Yeti, I think he would have had lethal.
Yeah. That's that's a really hard card to play around in that situation. 2 Noxian Fervors.
Well, just 1 Noxian Fervor is going to get it done, actually, since it is still taking the 2 damage.
Oh, that's right.
But he has the 2 Culling Strikes to stop the Noxian Fervors.
Oh, wow. So he's going to play the second Noxian Fervor, and then that's... Wow. Whew. The second...
Okay, never mind. Please Don't Hack Me's the genius. Here we are, questioning the man himself.
Yeah, wow. That was... What... I wonder how he went through that in his head. Bobando Culling is lethal. Yeah. And honestly, Bobando, you nailed it. That was an amazing heads-up play by Please Don't Hack Me. I'm not sure. Do you think he actually was thinking the only out Cephalopod has is 2 Noxian Fervors? Do you think he was actually playing around that?
It's pretty reasonable, honestly. I don't think he was thinking specifically about 2 Noxian Fervors, but he just kind of wrote the card off in his mind because he did have, a number of Culling Strikes. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. When I can compliment the players and say they read it, I like to. So yeah, I'll give that one to Please Don't Hack Me.
All right.
I'll say that was a genius read on his part.
Yeah, that was those 5-headed plays that we love to see here. So here we go again. Let's see if Please Don't Hack Me can prove us wrong with all of our crap talking with the deep sea monsters here, and see if he can prove once again why this deck is amazing. And it doesn't look like he's off to a great start, that's for sure.
Yeah, he didn't. Well, he only opened 1/1/4, and that's the real problem here. If he can find a Thorny Toad, then yeah, okay, he's got the game. Just give it to him at that point.
Yeah, right. He does get the Dredgers, probably a turn later than he wanted to, but nonetheless, still a very good early play in any deep sea monster deck.
Yeah, and he doesn't even mind taking off the rest of the turn, just banking the 2 mana for this Glimpse Beyond at some point.
Yeah, 100%. This is Okay, wow, another Dreg Dredgers and the Dead Bloom. So suddenly things are looking up. And this is, again, what we were talking about with this low curve deep sea monster deck.
I feel like Please Don't Hack Me's Maokais turn on a lot faster than pretty much any other Maokais that we see. And I think we have seen him win with the Maokai 2 or 3 times so far.
Yeah, that Maokai, and it's funny, he always seems to be drawing the Maokai and the Nautilus so early.
Yeah, he's really good at drawing champions.
Yeah, it's an acquired skill, okay? Now, does he play it here on turn 4? And I think this open attack means that he is possibly trying to play the Maokai turn 4. He could save it. Personally, I'd probably save it for the following turn to play the Dreg Dredgers alongside it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any single card that kills Maokai without a barrel. So I do kind of like saving it, unless your opponent wants to throw out 2 at the same time. And if they want to throw 2 spells onto it at the same time, you can just get the Glimpse Beyond out, which would actually be huge because that would deny a lot of the potential for the level up from the Swain.
That is a very good point. You're denying a lot of that damage output, so... And here comes the Maokai.
Once the Twisted Fate comes down, I'm definitely fine with playing it. For 3 mana, it would just be... There's nothing that gets it done.
Yeah, and even now, with 8 mana, I don't think there's anything that Cephalapod can do to remove it, right?
Yeah. I was actually lying. On 3 mana, you can go Make It Rain into Ravenous Flock, but I don't think we would have seen that.
Yeah, how many Ravenous Flock? He's playing 3 Ravenous Flocks, so that's not out of the question. And 3 Make It Rain. That would have been interesting. Yeah, and I think... So this deck, you don't usually see this in some of the other deep sea monster decks that we've seen, where you're getting Maokai out early and basically using it to get deep. Usually people... Actually, isn't most of the time this deck is playing 2 Maokai, some of the older versions that we've seen, right? Not 3?
Yeah, I think the current adaptation that we see the most often is like 1 Thresh, 2 Maokai, 3 Nautilus. Yeah,
and with that setup, you're not usually even trying to get the Maokai out early. You're just using it for that, mill strategy late game. In Please Don't Hack Me's version, he has routinely gotten it out very early in the game, specifically to get him deeper, faster.
Yeah, and I think Please Don't Hack Me just kind of sat down and went, well, Badger Bear is really hard to kill. Maokai's just as hard to kill. Let's just throw him out there and get the value where we can.
Yeah, and we are deep. Okay, can we just... This is turn 5. He is deep turn 5. Can we just we were talking the other day about how going deep by turn 7 is usually that break point. And I think, wasn't he deep by turn 6 the last time we saw this deck played by Please Don't Hack Me?
I'm pretty sure every single time we've seen him play this deck, he has played a deep Nautilus on turn 7.
That's that's ridiculous. This deck is just, it's so quick to get to that deep status. I think he is slowly but surely switching me to the dark side in believing in this new deep sea monster strategy we got going on.
Yeah, I think both of us earlier had said that there was nothing that could sell us on sea monsters, but Please Don't Hack Me. The more I watch it, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, we're eating our words for sure. That's wow. This has got to be by far. And listen, I have casted a ton of sea monster decks. This is so fast. They do not get deep this fast.
Yeah, and actually, so one of the important things about Cephalopod's deck is that he only runs 1 Noxian Guillotine, which a lot of them have gone up to 2, and I think that's really going to play against him in this matchup. There is not a lot of ways for Cephalopod to deal with the Nautilus, and we see the Guillotine come out before Nautilus does as well.
Yeah, that's going to put him in a really rough spot. I'm not sure I agree with that deck building decision to only play 1 Guillotine. I think that card is super high value in the current metagame, and like you said, most people are playing 2 copies, and I see plenty of people playing 3.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. There's one of the weaknesses out of Bilgewater Noxus that's identifiable straight from the get-go is that you don't have a great answer for They Who Endure. And multiple copies of Noxian Guillotine is like your one out to getting around Endure Atrocity. So it is really weird to me that he's cut down to 1 copy of it, considering it's good against... I don't want to say every Shadow Isle deck, because it is a little mediocre against Karina. It's a good on Devi, but for the 9 drops, you generally don't want to really care about removing them. But yeah, it definitely is a little weird to me that he's only playing the 1 copy of it.
Yeah, and you called it. You're like, I don't think we've seen a game where he doesn't play turn 7 Nautilus. Boom. There it is. God, that is just so good. Now, I will say, usually when he is playing the turn 7 Nautilus, he has a much bigger hand. And
Usually has a bigger board as well.
yeah, and a bigger board. So he's definitely hurting, but he has this, sweet 1-cost 6/6 that draws stuff. So that might get him pretty far. He's also got these treasures that are about to get shuffled in. So see, and this is the thing, like even though his cards, he might not have a whole ton of cards in his hand, but he sure as hell has a lot of strong cards in his hand.
Yeah, and he's even got the Jaw Hunters to create another sea monster that is going to be severely discounted if that's the route he wants to go. But I think he is going to go for the Shipwreck Hoarder instead.
Yeah, it looks like it. Well, I mean, he could play both this turn.
That's true.
And honestly, I mean, you kind of have to play the Shipwreck Hoarder because you're going to get those treasures shuffling in ASAP.
Is this... Depending on what this Jaw Hunters creates, if it's like another Abyssal Eye, I think he's got lethal.
Okay.
Well, no, I could be wrong because there's two. I don't think you have removal for the second fearsome blocker.
Yeah, but I will say the Shipwreck Hoarder, having 2 Shipwreck Hoarder feels really good.
Oh, for sure. I was a little actually curious about the Devourer of the Depths onto the Twisted Fate because that was because Twisted Fate had 2 attack and this Jagged Butcher was the only thing that could block Nautilus. If you had killed the Jagged Butcher instead of the Twisted Fate, I'm pretty sure you'd have lethal because you could Jaw Hunters challenge the Leviathan and nothing would be able to block Nautilus.
Yeah. And see, and this is where the Noxian Guillotine only being a 1-of is going to come back to bite him right here. I mean, it'd be perfect for this 13 attack Nautilus, but he is not going to be getting rid of that anytime soon, it looks like.
Yeah, and with 3 Swain in his hand, yeah, Cephalapod wouldn't have had any answer to that. So, it's pretty reasonable. You get rid of the Twisted Fate. That's totally understandable. And I think we're in limbo at this point. I don't think there's anything that Cephalapod can do to come back to this, especially with the hand that he has.
Yeah. And we're looking at... Okay, yeah, Swain's not really going to do much. And I think you can see Please Don't Hack Me kind of snapping off the plays a little bit faster, and I think it's because at this point he knows it doesn't really matter what order he plays the cards in. They're going to be the right order.
That Swain is only at 6 out of 12, which means it would take, I believe, triple Ravenous Flock to actually level it up.
Yeah.
Or sorry, it would take double Ravenous Flock to level it up and put it out of Devourer of the Depths range.
Wow, that is a board. We were just talking about how he didn't have that big of a board as we're used to at this point, but doesn't seem like that mattered because he came back real quick.
Yeah, I want to say that I'm still skeptical of the sea monsters because of how consistently Please Don't Hack Me is getting Nautilus on 7. I think that has a big impact on the success that he has found so far this tournament.
Oh yeah. So that is... He can kill not with flocks. So I has kill. You're not wrong. I has kill. All right. Yeah, that's a lot of flocks though. That's literally all of them in his deck to kill 1 Nautilus. Seems good, right? And actually, not even. If it's at 12 health, it still wouldn't kill. 3 wouldn't kill him. So that means Please Don't Hack Me takes it 2-1 over Cephalapod, moving into the top 4. Right? No, 8,
yep.
4,
yep.
4.
Semifinals.
So are we doing Sudrika? Oh, and all right. So it looks like Christmas Time actually won over BBG.
Ooh.
So yeah, I actually have for everybody in chat, these are the current standings. Looks like Christmas Time and BVG just got started. So I want to see. I don't know if you heard from our jam.
Yeah. I think they had rearranged it so that Cass is going to be on the Christmas Time match.
Okay. So we're doing Sudrakon, right?
I believe so.
All right, let's get it. And shout out to, real quick, just a huge thank you to not only everybody in chat, but to all of the... God, I'm so sorry, guys. We're going to hide this commercial. We're gonna go back to our beautiful faces here. So real quick, just a shout out to all of the players who do stream on a regular basis, because honestly, these tournaments and us casting is not possible unless they do stream. So if anybody in chat is usually in these tournaments and you think about streaming, you don't know if you should stream, just stream. Just do it. We appreciate it. Trust me when I tell you that. And
Also, we're going to make you look cool.
yeah, and you look super cool.